Should have got those.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Finance General Purposes meeting held on Thursday, 16th of March. I can't quite believe we're 3 months into the year already. Let's move on to item agenda number 1. Public questions on. We have
No public, Chairman.
no public, nobody else to come on. So, right, move on. Apologies for absence. We have Councillor Visser tonight, who unfortunately can't make it. Should we note it, or would you like to vote on it?
What's the reason?
I haven't had a reason given. It's a personal commitment, is all I can tell you.
Should we note it?
Noted.
Noted. Thank you. Okay, item number 3. To receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of December 2022 and the 12th of January 2023. I propose these for accuracy, and may I have a second?
I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions, any comments on those? Okay, let's put it to the vote then, please. Okay, Chairman's announcements. You'll be pleased to know there's not a lot for me to read. The precept demand has been served on Mid Sussex District Council, along with information for billing and the council tax bills are expected to land on the doorsteps any day. We are still awaiting for the completion of St Barnabas to transfer to us. The solicitors are still awaiting the papers from the church. So hopefully, how long's a piece of string?
Imminently, Chair.
Okay, no problem. That's everything on that one. Has anybody got anything I'd like to add, or any questions on any of those points?
The update on the bridge, Chairman.
For St Margaret's.
To Margaret Food. Yeah, would you like to take that, Chair, A&T? I'll do it if you want.
I'm sorry,
I'll do it.
I can't get away with the last email that we got to on it, so that's the only reason I'm passing it to you. The final chain of
absolutely
emails,
fine.
because we missed one this week.
Where we are is that the West Sussex County Council structural team have they've completed all of their surveys and everything they have to do. They are now going through the process of determining the commutable sum. They don't think they're going to be concluded that until about June. And so until June, we're not in a position to move further forward. But hopefully by June, we'll have a commutable sum agreed by Railway Paths, and then we'll be able to complete our final survey regarding the retaining wall. And then we can obviously discuss with Railway Paths about the transfer of the final part of the land. So hopefully by the time we come in, well, hopefully council will know well before we come into A&T in September that we are done. And I do hope that's the case with regards to them being able to move forward.
Is that 2023 or 2027?
Let's hope that is this year. It is all those dates are 2023, subject to everything happening as it should. But you know, it has been moved along, and we had an update from County Councillor Jackie Russell, and she said that's the position as she understands it at this point in time. And she said she had hoped it would have been quicker, but she's been told with current resource levels that's where it's going to be. It'll be June.
Thank you for that update.
I'd like to personally thank everybody who involved in that. Councillor Russell, Aaron, and everybody else that's been dealing with it over the many years we've been in, and obviously Julie and the team, but for all the hard work, because it's been going on for years, and to be hopefully so close now is great news, and it's going to be a great asset to East Grinstead. So fingers crossed, the money's in our favour as well. So well done to everybody involved, and thank you for your hard work on that one. Anything else? Okay, let's move on to item number 6 to receive the list of approved payments for December 22, January 23 and February 22. Does anybody have any questions? If so, I shall hand it to Dan. Councillor Reynolds.
Yes, got a number of questions, and I'll take them month by month if that's all right.
Yeah.
In regards to the December payments, can I ask what the £392.96 on the Christmas lights insurance was for? What's that specifically insuring? Secondly, the former mayor's dual at £260.11. Could you just expand on what that is, please? And then finally, £31.76 spent on Christmas decorations. Could I ask, how could the people that bought that tell that is worth more to the town council, that is the Christmas decorations, than the £31 is in the pockets of taxpayers? Please.
Right, so I don't know. Oh, right, if I get, okay, we'll just all, do you want to take the first one first, and I can do, do you want me to do the mayor's dual one?
You do the dual, I'll do the other two.
Right, the mayor's dual one, just to cover that one, although, yes, it is on here because, yes, we paid that money. I think the most important thing is worth noting is that Councillor Whitaker has paid the council for that,
Okay.
so that has not cost the council a penny.
Councillor Whitaker.
That's great stuff.
As for the other two items, they are related. The insurance for the Christmas lights switch on is what that refers to. We are no longer allowed to have, the council's blanket insurance for events will only insure us for an event up to 1,000 people. And because the big reveal attracts more than 1,000 people, we need separate insurance for it. So that's what that one is. And the £30 of Christmas decorations was actually for the stage and the event in the high street for the big reveal. When the stage arrived, there was nothing on it at all, and we had the town mayor to switch the light on with his big box. And so I went and bought some lights and some tinsel to make it look festive. So I believe, yes, in answer to your question, it improved the aesthetic of the look, and therefore did improve it for the experience for the residents.
It certainly did, because it was very bland.
Not when we finished.
Not
Before,
when we finished,
Thank
yes. I meant before, yes. Sorry. Councillor Reynolds.
That's a good explanation. I think if you're doing cost benefit analysis, that's the type of thing that would definitely be a big benefit. Now, in regards to January, there was a mayor's ticket purchased for the Gym Aces. Was that purchased out of the town mayor's allowance? Excellent. And then £334 was paid to St John's Ambulance for the Classic Car Show. Are we required to ensure there are medical officials for that?
Sadly so. Any event which is going to have a large number of people at them, and that was a very, very well attended event, we must ensure that we have adequate insurance, adequate first aid on hand for a public event. So unfortunately, yes, we do get a preferential customer rate with the St John's, so it does actually cost us less than if we went to some of the others.
Anybody else?
the only thing I'd like to note is that the energy costs are still looking very good to the town council.
Yeah, we're in a, I think the current contract ends, I believe, in May of next year.
Lucky you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, they have gone up considerably if you compare them to, you know, the last
Yeah,
couple
yeah,
of
but-
years,
but
but
compared
yeah,
to,
absolutely, it's
what
been,
I've been looking at for
yeah,
other places,
very
it
much
seems to
so,
be
yeah.
still having quite
yeah,
a favourable
yes.
monthly. I mean, yes, it is expensive, but
It's expensive, but I think, yeah, it is,
It's
you
not
know,
as
say we're in
expensive as
we're
I
in a very fair contract, if you like, and yeah, we do sort of, dare I say, nag staff to please be mindful of things and yeah, turn things off when not in use, more than, you know, that's more vital now than it ever has been.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done, you.
That's awesome.
Signing up early.
Yeah, just out of interest, we had a meeting of the trustees of the theatre last night, and the electricity bill in next year's estimates is £45,000. Wow. £5,000 quid for the theatre.
Yeah.
And we got the panels on the roof as well.
Back to candlelight. Back into the
Let's go
limelight.
everyone keep your coats on.
Yeah, that's
Music and
quite a
that.
lot. Okay, so I'd like to propose those things. I'll ask for a second.
I'm happy to second that, Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We had the questions, so can we move on to the vote? Thank you very much. Item 7, Town Council Finances, position statement. The details are included, but please, I'm going to defer to Dan once again. If there's anything, anybody's got any questions or thoughts on that one?
I'm sure he's got a good answer to this, but I just wonder if he's kept an eye on the interest rates because they've gone up of late, and has he plans to shift any money to?
The short answer to that is no plans at the moment to move any money around, but absolutely, yes, I do keep an eye on the investments. I do see exactly, I'm always notified of any changes in interest rates that we're getting. And of course, at the moment, those rates are only going one way at the moment in our favour. Our returns so far, we've already exceeded our income target for the year for our investments, which is great. And of course, you need to be mindful that you can't, although we have on here, we've got 175,000 with the national counties invested and 175,000 with the nationwide building society. You of course have got to be mindful it's a balance between, all right, so the nationwide is paying a better interest rate currently than national counties, but you don't want to put all your money into one thing. It's a balance between the interest rate and spreading the investments around.
Yeah, and being able to access the money at various times, presumably.
Absolutely. So there, they say on there, the national counties is a 45-day notice if you did want to make a withdrawal. Nationwide is 95-day. Yes, the business reserve one is a lower interest rate, but that's the one that we access, almost on a.
Is that the best we can get, is it?
It is for the type of account that we need. Yeah. We need one where we can readily access that money and basically we draw down from it because the current account doesn't accrue any interest at all, which is why the balance in the current account, I always try and keep it ideally no more than about 10,000. That's literally the day-to-day account that we use, and the other one is just drawn down from, so I'll keep it in there as long as possible because the interest is accrued daily.
Is part of that deal the fact that we get the charges from NatWest, or how we charge there?
So we get charged, we have two different charges basically we incur from NatWest. We have our normal bank charges that any business account would have. So, when we go to the bank, we're paying in checks, etc. And we also have a monthly charge for basically the facility to use online banking. And when we're making salary payments, paying our suppliers, any electronic payments. So it's twofold the charges, but again, they're very reasonable.
They're competitive, presumably, with the other high street banks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else with any questions? No, okay, these are for noting, so can we note those, please?
Noted.
Thank you. Performance indicators, so this is a report on the current KPIs for invoicing and absences. I'll ask Dan to answer any questions on these as well, please, if anybody's got any. No, that was an easy one, okay. I would personally like to thank Dan and his team, although it's not much of a team, it's pretty much you, for all your hard work and everything you do and all your.
The deputy town clerk and the finance assistant, so assistant to Chambers with regards.
Good,
to
they fine.
Although Mr. Chambers does a superb job, and I wouldn't take anything away from him, he does have a team.
Okay, I take that all back. No, don't take it all back. I thank the team for all their hard work and everything they do, because every report is glowing and every
Thank you.
audit you have is always top notch. So thank you to you all for your hard work. So, okay, so recommendations for committee. There aren't any on this cycle, so we can move on that one. Delegated decisions, there hasn't been any, so that's that one done as well. Okay, item 11, electric car charging. This report has come back from the last cycle, and the answers provided as requested. But one of the pages was missing, but that's now been dealt with, I believe, and has gone.
Everyone's got a copy
One
of
got a
it.
copy. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I hope you all read the report and understand it. And if you've got any questions? That's right, Councillor.
Yes, question and statement. How much would this cost the council overall or upfront? I can't quite remember what we discussed last time.
Sure.
And the statement being, I don't see why we need to prioritise electric cars. As I said at the previous meeting, the main negative externality of driving a car is the congestion that it creates. And the fuel duty internalises everything else, including the sort of climate change effect. And these electric cars, given they're pretty much the same size as other cars, are going to cause just as much congestion, just as much of a negative externality as the petrol cars. So I don't see why they particularly need to be promoted.
Sure. Is that all right, Chairman?
Yeah, by all means, please.
Yeah, I'll answer your question. So this is a totally different proposal that I've brought to the table compared to last time. The last proposal was for 15 grand roughly for electric charging points to be installed. So that was for the installation. This managed to gain a few contacts through the county council and then establishing a connection with the district council as well to see what they currently use and also to see how well utilised it is. And so this scheme would have no charge for the full supply of the electric charging points. There would be a nil cost for the installation. There would also be a nil cost for the management for a certain number of years. The way that this works is that any profits are in a profit share agreement. So that's what Mid Sussex do as well. So that's why the company install it for no charge, because they then get a percentage of the profit. How that works is I can't give you a finite figure of what they take currently, but it's around 55%. And how they work that out is on the utilisation of the charging points that they install. So they work it based on their usage. That's why I've done this question and answer on the other page, just to sort of reaffirm current usage.
So am I right in thinking there will eventually be a cost? Because you said the maintenance is for only so many years, which would suggest that the maintenance, particularly when it's becoming old and broken, I suspect, or wearing away,
Yeah, sure.
that's when we'll have to pick up the bills.
The idea currently, because this is such a new scheme from the government, that we're able to do this for no additional charge. So the company, how they get the products installed for no fee is they draw down from a government scheme themselves. They use that, and then the profit share arrangement is something to then help them continue. In regards to this, the management fee may fall on us year 5 onwards, but the management fee is it's a much smaller charge than anything that the installation costs. In fact, I was quoted £345 for a year.
Can I've got a couple of other people. Can we?
Yeah.
Councillor Burton?
Thank you. I think this scheme is much more of interest than
Sure.
the previous one. I had reservations on the previous one. I do think. The only thing I would ask is, it all sounds fine. Is there, if they don't meet their targets, is it a guaranteed 5-year, or is it?
Yes, it is. So how it works is, first of all, as soon as if this was accepted at this meeting, they come and do a full survey, and it's basically a full financial risk assessment on whether this would work in this location, and it is their responsibility to make sure that they can meet what they need in terms of their profit share. So they want it to work, we want it to work.
I agree, but is there a time you know, in year 2, if it didn't work.
They would have to keep
they
to the
would have to-
contract.
So
They
we have got a
to,
contract, is
yes.
it 5-year contract? did you
We
say?
haven't signed it. Obviously, that is for this meeting to decide, but once that would
I know,
be
but what is the
determined.
proposal of the time that they are?
So normally the charging units, I think for Mid Sussex, they have agreed for 10 years,
Mhm,
and that's full maintenance for the whole 10 years.
right,
They've said to me initially 5 years,
mhm.
but I would need to work out that contract with them.
So we guaranteed that we would not
Yes.
have a cost for that
Yes.
period that we negotiate
Yes.
with them. Okay, fine, that's excellent, thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you. Once we get to that point of
Yeah.
5 years, and it is 5 years down the line, and things will change, their technology will change, things will have moved on. So
Sure.
we know those sorts of things. And there may be, well, a lot more cars being used. If we are taking over the maintenance of it, would the percentage ratio become up for negotiation as well? Because if we're then looking after it, maintaining it, would it stay at, let's say 55-45 now, would it stay at that?
I would have to go back to them and ask that question. I would assume that it would change based on the utilisation of the products, because they only guarantee it for that certain amount of time, and that is one of the stipulations that may change after that time. But I would have to go back properly and have a look at how much it could change.
Because
by.
we'd be taking on the responsibility, it would seem that it would be, one to never assume, but it
Yes,
would be beneficial for us for it to be.
One thing I'd note about this is the main cost of this proposal was the initial setup,
Yes.
and that will already be in the ground. So the main actual expense of the product was actually getting the electricity
Groundwork.
supply
Yeah.
to the electric charging points. So even though technologies might advance to the point where they become in 10 years' time, let's say, redundant, we have got the electricity
Yeah.
supply there, which currently we don't.
So I've got one other point, if I may, before Mr. Amos comes back, because I might get something in similar to him. But just saying about the utilisation of the car parks, well done for doing the survey for us and getting the information that we requested. So thank you for that. The car parks that they've said about the 11% usage of the car parks, etc.
Sure.
Obviously, there's not as many electric cars on the road as there are petrol cars, so one would assume that there would be less usage of those. They're not going to be used 100% of the time because the cars are not yet, there's not that many of them around, and obviously over 5 years that will grow. So one is assuming that that will grow over, again, over a time, 5-10 years back.
Yes, and what I wanted to make sure is that this committee was supportive of this idea before I go into the next step with this company, which will be a full financial risk assessment on their part to see whether this idea of putting charging units is viable for themselves, because they obviously need to make a profit. They are looking to work with us, so it is important that they look at the whole situation and monitor the utilisation in other parts of East Grinstead as well. The Q&A that I had with Mid Sussex, and I'd like to thank them for it, because it was really, really interesting to see how they had got on with Connected Curb. It showed that current usage ranges from 11%, which sounds very low when you're talking about 11%, but you have to remember that's still, for what they charge to the consumer, that is still quite a significant amount of money. And it's also that they only installed these type of chargers last year and are already having that type of utilisation. So Mid Sussex were very positive about their current experience with Connected Curb. Also, one thing I'd say as well is that the average percentage uptime was over 90%, which compared to a lot of electric chargers, and when I was looking around at other options, they were quoting about 75% and upwards. So it's quite a substantial difference.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Councillor Osborne.
I was wondering if your curiosity got you to look at the Mid Sussex's budget to see what sort of income they were getting from this.
Do you know what? I did ask them.
And they didn't answer.
This is what they said. They said that they anticipated more generation of income in future years. That was their way of saying it.
Right, okay. So it doesn't appear in their budget estimates and that sort of thing, does it?
It doesn't to the detail that I needed.
Okay. Thanks very much.
I think we should acknowledge that taking car parking spaces out of a car park because they're for electric cars and other people can't park, and it does come at a cost. So if you take a parking space that generates about £10 a year, £10 a day, for example, and you multiply that by 365 days, that's £3,600 worth of value that is generated by that parking space. And if we use 2, then that's about 7,250. Now let's just assume that's used 10% of the time because that's the utilisation rate. That's about a £6,300 opportunity cost. That is parking space that is not used by people. So that's a cost that we have to acknowledge this. And I would say this also, last time we discussed this, we were wary about the large cost, the installation cost, and that's a bit too expensive. We all acknowledge that. But the deputy clerk here said that this company is going to draw down on the government scheme. Is that right? So
Yes, yeah.
in actual fact, it's not going to cost taxpayers any less. It's just going to be a tax on them in a different place. Sure, it won't show up in our accounts. But if we thought the cost of installation was too high last time, then we've got to think the cost of installation is too high this time. It just happens to be through a different taxation route. And I think the figures that Councillor Mrs. Belsey asked for last time really are relevant now. If the utilisation rate is only 11%, there is simply no need for us to install electric charging points until that utilisation figure becomes significantly larger. There is no need to incur for taxpayers, as opposed to the town council, because I admit it won't cost the town council anything. We can save taxpayers a significant sum by not going ahead with this. It may make sense in the future when the utilisation of Chequers Mead car park, I believe the Iceland car park has got charging points. When those have sort of significantly increased and Mid Sussex District Council's making a significant sum of them, then we could perhaps consider this proposal. But until that point, given the cost to taxpayers is going to be pretty much the same, because as you said, it's just digging up the ground. I doubt they're going to get a significantly better deal. If we opposed it last time, I think reason dictates we must oppose it this time.
On the flip side to that, though, we don't currently charge people for parking in our car park. So if we charge pay people in 2 spaces or 4 spaces to park there to charge their vehicle, then we are actually making money,
Not losing out.
having an income. Because at the moment you can park there for free. So if 4 spaces are out there producing an income, that's additional income to East Grinstead Town Council, which, yes, I understand what you're saying from the other side of things, but currently we give away our spaces. So actually, if we can make some money off of 4 spaces without paying £15,000 outlay for 5 years, then it seems to me like we should. I personally want to recommend it, but and then in 5 years' time, if we're talking about £340-ish at the moment, that's allowed for inflation down up to £500. That gives us 30 years to pay until we're back to the £15,000 that we're paying out. So I understand where you're coming from.
Reply to that. But you've just said there we won't be paying out £15,000, and you're right that East Grinstead Town Council won't be doing that, but that cost is still going to be incurred by taxpayers. It's just going to be spread around the country because it's coming from a government.
But
scheme.
then you're on the flip side to that is you've always wanted privately run businesses to make money. So this is a privately run business that is going to be using
What is available?
money that is already taxed and already available to be used to then come in and make money for themselves and make money for us. Why not?
Although it may appear I've always been in favour of private businesses making more money, I don't think that's something that should always be aimed towards. And I would add that those parking spaces, although they're free over there, it's still a cost to make them unavailable. Sure, it's not a monetary cost, but it's still an inconvenience. And an inconvenience can be measured in monetary terms if we were to put a value on it. And I'm simply equating what people typically pay for a parking space with the inconvenience. And that is going to create inconveniences. I'll simply rest my case on the fact that last time we opposed this, or rather we asked more information actually, on the basis that we needed to know about the capacity utilisation of the car parks. The capacity utilisation of the car parks is very low. It's got plenty of potential in it. There's no need for taxpayers to pick up the bill here. to finance something that's not going to be necessary for a road improvement.
If that money's already there and already being is already ring fenced, then we, by not doing it here, we're allowing somebody else to use that and make money somewhere else that doesn't come back into East Grinstead Town Council's pocket. So, Councillor Osborne, you had your hand.
It was an interesting debate, really. Of course, the government are no fools. They'll get their own back. If there's more charging points, there'll be more electric cars sold, there'll be more taxation collected on the selling of those cars, there'll be other balancing financial situations. I think his point is pretty good regarding the holding off on car parks where there's charging. I think you've got a pretty good case there, but if you're talking about free parking and put them in there, I think from our point of view, ignoring that, because we don't charge for car parks anyway. I think as far as we're concerned, I support it, but I do think that as good as his arguments are, I do think that the government are no mugs, and they can see the peripheral incomes coming on this. They won't be giving it away for nothing for long. You can be sure of that.
Okay.
Well, fags are going up next week.
No. That's impressive.
Thank you, sorry. Reading the proposal, I wouldn't want to accept that at this point. I would like to see further details and possibly the outline of the contract that is going to be proposed before we actually accept that.
Do you want me to make a slight amendment to that proposal so that it?
Should we move to the next
It's not
stage
your
of it?
proposal to
No.
make it all come from the chair or the committee.
No.
So I was thinking.
I'm not
It is
against it, I just would like to see what they actually.
Next stage, and you do.
So,
Yeah.
so do we,
Would that be all right?
do we
Because I
propose
think
to
we
move
should
to the
see
next
what's in the
stage?
contract,
Yeah,
tell
well,
them,
yeah, I'll go with it.
before we go, is that all right? Sorry.
No, I think that's fair. So I would like to propose that we move to the next stage and ask for a feasibility study to be produced based on everything that we've had laid out in front of us, so that we have the feasibility study can come back into F&GP on the next cycle for approval, discussion, or rejection. Hang on 1 second, perhaps I get a second for that first. Do I have a second for that?
I'm happy to second that one.
Fantastic, thank you. That's the
Chair.
two of you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Councillor Matthews.
I didn't intend to say anything about this, but I think Mrs. Farron's point at the end of the period, the ratio that we get and they get, I think that ought to be examined as well.
I think that's part of it, yeah.
I'm trying to think that hopefully that comes as part of the feasibility study. If not, could we ask you to dig around?
It is part of the feasibility study that they do.
Yeah, sure.
Councillor Ross?
Could I have assurance that in this feasibility study, we are going to include the cost of inconvenience? Because a parking space that is not utilised is an inconvenience, and in any sensible cost benefit analysis, it should be included. Now, I would suggest if it were to be included, you should use this perhaps a lower rate given the location of East Court of car parking charges, and that be set against the profits that may be created from the scheme. If we're about making the town as happy as possible, then we've got to include inconvenience in our cost benefit analysis.
Is that something you think you can include?
Yes, yeah.
Mate, I think let's have a discussion outside of this group about how that is factored, how that is
I think that's fine, Chairman. We can include that in the feasibility study. It's
fine.
fine.
Okay, then we'll do that, yes. Okay, so we've seconded it, proposed it, seconded it, so now down to the vote. All those in favour?
That's carried.
Okay, item 12, air quality monitoring post. To review the proposal for the purchase and full installation of air quality monitoring posts. We are aware that MSCD have now also installed one on London Road. And the question first is whether to proceed with others, and if the recommendation is for the committee to accept the quotation for full supply and installation of one eco-post unit in line with the comments to the environmental strategy. Why? Would that like to debate? Councillor Evans?
Could you outline what the benefits to the town would be from this and how they outweigh the costs to taxpayers of installation and the thing itself?
Do you want to, or
Yes.
shall I try?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Okay, I'll hand you on.
So it's something that Julie and I looked into. It's a scheme that's being used by various councils nearby, and what it is trying to examine is the air pollution, especially outside schools. My personal reasoning for why I think this is a good idea is I don't think people fully understand how much pollution is caused by people having their engines running near schools and how much that may be damaging people's healths. And I think it is a good message for people within the town to understand what driving to school potentially can cause for their children or other people's children. So that is why we investigated this scheme.
Yeah, I think it's a little wider than that, what we were looking at here was the overall quality of the air within the town, and we are aware that these posts have started springing up in various other places. They are monitoring the levels of pollution. They are monitoring the effects of in certain areas of the pollutants in the atmosphere. Now, clearly, higher pollutants in the atmosphere have detrimental effects on health, and that's a bad thing. So it was really a case of thinking about whether or not we wanted to start looking at areas of our town where we thought we had particular problems. London Road, the A22, obviously is one area which we know that the district council is starting to pick up the big routes through and what have you. They put one. It's near McDonald's, isn't it? The one that they put out at the moment, and that's giving. And Councillor Webster told us about that at the last council meeting. That one had gone in, which we didn't know about when we started doing this research, to be honest. But it was really about saying, as a council, did we want to be taking into our own hands the level of pollution, so that we've got statistics, we've got facts with regards to them being able to take further forward with regards to looking at development or whatever it may be, with regards to ensuring that we have got clean air, especially on school routes, with regards to what our future residents are going to be breathing. So that was kind of where it came from, and we wanted to bring it into committee to see what your thoughts were. So we were somewhat surprised to find that the district council had already gone down this road, but which is why the first comment is did you want to continue this, being as the district have taken it on, or did you want to now pull back? So that's where it's all kind of come from.
Okay. Councillor Farron and then Councillor Bertie.
Can I just ask, so seeing as the district have started to work on this, have you had any communication with them to see if they've got different areas that they're going into that would mean that we could pull back?
Sure.
Or whether it's something that we need to strive for and think about certain areas of the town? So yes, is there any communication to see their longer term plans?
The first bit of communication that I received was Norman Webster at that meeting.
First we
Okay.
knew about it. We've seen the press release that came out from the district, and we read what they put in their own reports with regards to, they've got 3, I believe, now across the district. I'm sure they will be looking at the district, Stonepan Crossroads in Hassocks, the one here on London Road, and I can't think what the third one is, but it's not in our parish, I'm sure. That's not to say others won't follow, but at the moment that they have installed the 3.
Have you had any communication with them on their costs and anything of this company that
One
you can?
thing that I would say about their device is it's I don't know if you've seen the one near McDonald's, but it's quite different to the device that we're talking about here. This is more of a visual device that's a lot sort of visually more
like
pleasing.
Yes,
indeed. It's almost like a bollard that lights up, and whereas the Mid Sussex one, I think, is
It's collating the
collating
data
data.
rather than. letting
So this
you
is making
know
something visual for the children and
Yeah.
parents that are going to be. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Have we actually communicated with Mid Sussex, or have they communicated with us the results of the survey that they've done?
Other than what Norman Webster said at the meeting, which can be found on the website that.
Yeah, the district council haven't provided us any information,
Have we
however,
requested it?
no, because their information is on their website, so you can go and look at it, which we have done.
You have done, and what, did you feel the information would be of use to us?
What I don't know is whether or not what they are receiving is exactly what we're going to receive, so that I don't know, because it is a different product. But the information that you can, because you can dial into it straight through the internet and go and look at the information that's coming off the post that the district have put in. So it will tell you what the current readings are around it. It's really clever, and it gives you
Because
that
I think that's
information.
quite crucial to know
Yeah.
what information we're going to.
Absolutely,
to be able to
it tells
before we-
you. We will get the same type of information, but it's just done in a different. It's a different type of piece of kit. But and I don't know that ours will necessarily have the same public interface with it that the district one does, because you can just dial in and look at the districts and it tells you what the current readings are. It really is very, very clever. Probably costs a bit more than what we're looking at.
I mean, have we tried to say, would they put one up, say by Sackville on the A22 or something?
We haven't had that
We haven't
conversation,
asked
no.
them.
No, we could do. So it came as a bit of a surprise to us that the district had been doing this. We didn't know they were, and Harry had obviously already started the work, so we all thought we wanted to bring this in.
So this would cost us 4,200 with the VAT plus the installation. Is it worth us just checking with Mid Sussex whether they would think about doing one near the school on the A22? Because obviously somewhere along that road would be I should talk about school on the main road.
Maybe one in Felbridge as well,
Well, yes.
considering we've got 750 houses, maybe, or 550 houses in.
I mean, we can certainly talk to the district about any further plans they may have. It's a question, I suppose, really of whether or not.
And the
committee wants to
use
say
of the
no.
information that it's
Mhm.
going to provide the actual information that we need to actually be able to evaluate the readings.
Yeah, it definitely does. It provides very good information with regards to
So
the.
that's the sort of crucial
the-
point,
that
isn't it?
information
Rather
is
than
not-
how it looks, really, the information being collected is.
Yes, I think the point that Harry was trying to make though is because is when the district one simply collates the data. If you're walking past it, the only way you're going to know what that current reading is for you to get your phone out and get into it and have a little looking. Whereas the piece of apparatus that Harry is proposing, that will physically be glowing a particular colour.
It's a
which,
visual
again,
indication.
It's a visual indicator to let you know that actually it's pretty horrific up here at the
Is it like a
moment,
traffic
or it's
light
pretty
system?
good, or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
So it's very
So
child
it's-
friendly.
It's a
Yes,
bit more
it's child-
education, it's
Yeah,
more educational.
yeah.
I suppose it'll still give us the data, we'll still get that, which will be useful to pass into the district for further information. But it will actually also hopefully give very visual indications to the children that are actually, you need to turn the car off, you need to bring those things down, or walk to school, or cycle, or whatever it might be. It's just a different type of indicating device, that's all, but it still collects the data in the same way, same-ish way.
Councillor Reynolds?
I think by schools got a good case for this device, because I can see people going, oh, it's red, I'll turn off my engine so the children don't have to breathe in the various particulates that you're referring to. But where it's not near schools, I can't see this being much good at changing people's behaviour. And I think the only virtue of this scheme is that it's going to change people's behaviour. If we want to collect data, I am assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we could go and do that with a handheld device or something like that. So if we need the data at sort of peak time, we could go out there with a handheld device, get rid of all the installation costs, and just bring that back and make assessments on that basis. So it's only really there to change behaviour. And at school, okay, you could go ahead, there's a good case for it there. But when it's being installed in places where there's not a school next door, I can't see it changing behaviour that much, and it seems to be a cost there that isn't worth putting in place because the benefit's not going to outweigh it. So, although I'm against all taxation, as you know, and I maintain that position, on your own grounds, I think there should only be that, and your own grounds being, let's do what's best for the community, let's do a cost benefit analysis and select those things that are a net beneficial expenditure. On your own grounds, this should only be installed by schools, not in other areas where it's not going to make a difference to behaviour. And I would suggest the Felbridge traffic lights, I don't think will make a sort of a huge
No, not
difference.
You mean-
I was nearer the school, because
Nearer the
they
school,
end up
okay.
queuing past the school due to the,
But those places
Felbridge
where
traffic
it's not affecting
they
the
can't
school,
turn them off.
wherever they may be, I would suggest not going ahead with any indicator, if indeed that was the plan. I vote for it.
that's fine.
Councillor Amos, I concur for the first time in 4 years.
I'm glad everyone's sitting down that point.
Come on, let's go out on fire, come on. And I agree, the case of especially as they're visual and everything, it's a very different type of device than London Road. London Road is air quality and you know, that's for a bigger picture and people, you know, queuing for their takeaways. Whereas outside school, prime example, Escott Sackville, 2 schools on that same road, idling engines for quite a long period of time because of different drop-offs and things like that. Also with London Road at the top, the A22 at the top. So somewhere like that. And outside any school, it is a great visual, and I think it would be a benefit, and you have to start somewhere. So, and I do agree that other areas, I think maybe you need the children on board. I think the children will take the visuals and run with it in any sort of area, with their eco committees and all those sorts of
Knowing what
things.
my two are like, having been at Escots and the
Yeah.
eco warriors and things. they're
Yeah,
very
and all schools have
do
those,
that.
so they all have a vested interest in it. So across all of East Grinstead, they all do that. So
And poor health puts more money, puts more pressure on the NHS. So we
And
can help,
absence
if
from
we can help
school
with
They
and-
die
that.
early enough.
you know, we all got to get our figures up.
Cheery as ever, Councillor Amos. Okay, so the recommendation is that the
Well, did-
committee, Councillor Osborne, sorry. I missed
That's
you.
all right. Thank you very much. I can't support this for the simple reason that I don't doubt the value of these things, but we're not an educational authority, a health authority, or a planning authority. But I thought the people most close to this who can do something about it if we get bad readings are those people who have got those powers, those functions. I mean, it's very unpopular, but in London they've had a lot of pollution. My brother's always moaning that he's got a car and he's got to pay so much money to go out of his drive, go shopping, £12 a day or something like that. But that's ultimately where it leads to, where you've got too much of this pollution. But what would we do? We'd have this information and we'd complain to somebody with it. I don't know.
Feedback to Miss Sussex. West
I mean, we do enough of that anyway. And I think my own view is that it's a responsibility of the health authorities, the planning authorities when they're planning, educational authorities to be working on this. It's not necessarily for the town council to
They
do
try.
this. I don't like the idea of us stepping into the breach too often. I think we step into the breach enough. I mean, we already fill up a lot of gaps where other authorities let the town down. I don't think we need to do this. I can't support it. Sorry.
Councillor.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Frank. I mean, I was saying to myself, why are we doing it? Is it just a public awareness issue? Just providing information. And I agree with Councillor Osborne. Is it our job to do that? I would have thought this was either county or district's job. I mean, I think it's very laudable and it's very important, particularly in Escots. Air quality must be poor around there with the 2 schools. But I'm not comfortable with it somehow. It just doesn't seem. I don't know why we're doing it. I do know why we're doing it. Children's lungs are particularly vulnerable, more so than adults. So I think it is important that if you are going to do it, I mean, it should go near the schools.
The recommendation is quite.
Recommendation of the committee set the quotation of full supply and installation of one eco-post So,
Does it say
as
that?
councillor Belsley said, is it £4,500?
It's 4,500.
Yeah, so,
Is the location important? I thought I read it was.
Not
No,
sorted
no.
yet.
no, it's just one, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think for a town council, it's a lot of money, just for a public awareness thing.
So I thought I read that it was, there was a location.
Near a school.
That.
It would
so
start off near a school. Location obviously to be.
I just pictured a school in my head, and that was where I had it. Councillor Belton.
It's just a suggestion. If Mid Sussex are already taking this on as a project, which they obviously are, would it be possible before we make the decision to do it as a town council, we approach them and say, look, we would like you to consider putting one
In set places that we can.
because you've already accepted it as a project, you're obviously working on it, you're obviously going to take steps,
contribute.
etc. You know, would it be possible to sort of look at one that we think is in need of having one, or would be a good place for you to be able to gather your facts further, as they've already got it and obviously studying it and it's already in place, as opposed to us when we get our statistics, as the gentleman, the councillor said, you know, what we're going to do with it. They've obviously got a bigger overall plan that we could link into. It's just a suggestion.
And that's fine. I said the chairman started the introduction by saying the first question is, do we want to continue with this project now that we've discovered the
So,
district are doing it?
Maybe we change the recommendation to say that we would like to ask Mid Sussex, West Sussex for their input.
Yes.
Right, so hold on,
No, hang on,
Chairman, before you query further, you have proposed and seconded
Yeah.
the original
Okay.
resolution. You can't now amend it.
Fine, so let's vote on
An
it.
amendment is, you've got to change a word or something like that. You're going to change the whole lot. So could you vote on it and get that out of the way and then have a new proposal,
Yes.
please?
Okay, so proposed seconded for the original. Let's vote on that. The existing proposal.
So this is to accept the quotation at the moment.
Well, I proposed it, so I'll vote it, but
So that's two and those against.
And those against?
Right, so that's defeated.
That's it. Okay, so new recommendation is to ask Mid Sussex, West Sussex for their input financially, but for the locations, any proposed locations to be outside of schools, preferably Sackville and Escott, because you get the double whammy with that one, and possibly Imberhorn, because it may help us with the fight down there.
It's quite a resolution
No,
going on.
we can amend the wording in a minute, but I'm just trying to say,
Right.
do we say that we want it outside Escott and Sackville because of the double whammy we get there? And then maybe outside Imberhorn because of the fact that we've got, suppose there's some new homes coming.
I think if you're going to put
And
that
Felbridge
specifically, I
House.
could be able to declare an interest.
I think you may have a bit, sorry, I think you may have a bit of a problem. If Mid Sussex think that we're quite willing to do this, that rather, it's a bit of a disincentive perhaps for them to, they
No,
could
we
sit
weren't
back and
saying
wait
that,
for us
were
to
we?
do it.
You've
I
got-
think
I'm
we'll be
just
careful, that's what I'm saying,
trying to
we'll
say.
be careful what we
Yes, we
say.
were. We were asking whether we could be involved with the.
Hang on a minute,
Yeah, I just think you should make it very simple and say, would you consider putting one outside of those two schools, which obviously is the prime candidate for it, is to put one there and leave it at that. I wouldn't give
Town
many-
clerk has got some
I wouldn't give
wording
many
she'd like to
indication, we'll
propose.
step in and fill the gap.
Yeah, I
Well,
think,
just throw the debate out there and see what they invite and come back to.
Okay,
can I
let's-
suggest that you have a proposal, something around this type of wording, to require, for officers to discuss with Mid Sussex District Council as to their intention and aspiration of growing their project. And if there is intention for it to grow further, to request that further bollards be placed near the schools in East Grinstead.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
What the town clerk said, I'm not repeating. it, 'cause I
What she
can't
said.
remember it. So I'd like to propose that.
Should be against it.
Yeah, please, yeah.
was a very long proposal.
It was.
If it comes back, we're only back where we were.
We're only back where we
I'll
were,
be
yeah.
back
It's on
in
the
a
second
moment.
paragraph,
But at
Stop
least
it.
we've explored.
Don't stop my train of thought.
If so.
That's the hall. You can hear people.
No, it's the Railway Model Club
I think that's.
downstairs.
You would have thought they were a rowdy bunch.
They were, especially when everyone was remember.
I've been there, though, you must be there.
Yes. Well, several of them came to the funeral.
Standard touchdown.
It is.
Different pictures from the front. Oh, I see,
Okay,
that's-
so
it
what I've
just-
got then is
Oh,
for
very good.
officers to discuss with Mid Sussex District Councillors to their intention to continue with the project, and if so, to request the devices are placed outside schools in East Grinstead. Obviously, if that comes to nothing, we'll then come back. Yeah.
I'd like to propose that. May I have a second?
I'll second that, Chair.
Councillor, Amos?
If the device, which is visual, is no more expensive than the one that they currently have on London Road, I think we should make it very clear to them that we are only interested in the visual one. Because I am firmly, well, the fact that I'm firmly of the belief is irrelevant. There is no reason to have these boxes that are on London Road there, because that's not going to change anybody's behaviour. And the only benefit to this scheme is the fact that it is visual. So if it's not going to be visual, then and if they're not prepared to make it visual, I would say, as long as it's not more expensive than the alternative, but you might not care about that, then we should say we're not interested if they come back, because the only point to it is visual.
Well, that's a stage further.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah.
We can
Somebody else can do
we
it.
can have that debate, or you guys
But
can have
it's
that
community
debate. another
friendly,
time.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll propose that. We have a second. Can we vote on that, please? Richard? Thank you. Do you want to go next, or we have interest against?
I think that's carried, yeah.
Thank you. Vehicle report. So there's a report from the deputy clerk to note the purchase of a vehicle. This is just for noting, unless anyone has any comments. Does anybody have any comments? We did talk about this quite a lot last time and came up with what we thought was the best option for that. So it's good to see that we've got that already.
Yeah, this is, sorry, Chairman, this is just to inform this committee as well as A&T, just because they both fall within remit of both committees. And I just felt it was appropriate that the
That's
members
good.
of NGP
And I
both
think
see what's happened.
having it with us already is, although we've spent money, we're saving money because we're not having to keep the other one on the road. So
Yes.
well done, and well done for everybody who was
And
involved in that.
it's
and getting that
also
done.
to note to this committee that the theft of parts from one of our other complete vehicle and what's
Yes.
happening about that.
Have we had anything back from the police after we spoke to them at public services last week?
I have had no other additional contact so far.
Have been informed the insurers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That went
so,
straight in the waste paper bin, that one. did.
yeah, the insurers have been informed straight away, and they sent an assessor out, an independent assessor, who I went down with on Monday to go and view the vehicle,
Right.
just sort of to confirm what we've
yeah,
been telling them,
yeah.
and they were happy with that. So we're literally waiting any day
Yeah.
now, I'm assuming, to hear from the insurance
Yeah.
company.
That's fine.
Well done.
Just a very small point on that. We are looking for the build date of our other vehicle now in April rather than May. So
That was good news.
Good. Well done, everybody. Thank you very much for that. So that's just for noting.
Noted.
Noted.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. 14, elections. To note the timetables and councillors that are advertising for nominees. This is just for noting, so also be aware that Councillor Mrs Bennett has stepped down from her county council seat, so that this is already advertised and the election will take place on the same day. As from next Tuesday, we'll be in Purder. I knew I'd say it around the wrong one. Purder, I didn't my head fine. Purder, councillors are asked to bear in mind this when regarding the annual town meeting next week, which will be run by the mayor. South to East Water are speaking and are the speakers to explain their policies and strategy for updating all of their water infrastructure in town. Yeah, that'd be a good one to hear all that. So that's just for noting, everybody.
Noted.
That's the question, Chairman.
You may indeed.
You mentioned Councillor Mrs Bennett, not standing for county
County.
again, there's going to be a by-election, I understand. Is she standing for district, doing that? She's giving out district as well, yeah.
Yes,
I thought that's what I heard.
yes, giving up across the board.
Yeah, should be a big loss.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you, everybody around the table, and everybody's been involved in the FGP meetings over the last 4 years and the last couple of months when I've been doing it. Thank you to, I'm going to say it this time without dropping myself in it, Dan and the team for all your hard work, and to Julie and Deputy Town Clerk and all the team that go with it. None of this would be possible without them. So thank you very much, and I'd like to thank Councillor Amos, Matthews, Osborne, and Councillor Sweatman, obviously for all your hard work. And you guys aren't really standing like myself, so thank you for everything you've done. I'll come to you guys in a second. So I'd just like to say thank you to everybody. And Councillor Belsey, you had something to say?
Yes, I'd like to thank you very much for chairing the meeting, taking over the position.
Thank you.
You've done an excellent job, as has Councillor Ballard.
Yes.
And I thank you both very much, as we do for all the officers for everything they've done, and my fellow councillors and those that won't be standing next year. Well, thank you. It's been good to work with you. Thank you very
I'd
much.
like to
everyone.
thank everybody for everything.
Well, that covers it, Frank, doesn't it? And thank you, Councillor Farron.
I was
for
going
your
to say,
hard work.
I was going to thank you,
Well,
Chair,
thank you for-
and everybody around this table, so, thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Good luck in May. May all those restanding be here on the next
May the
term.
fourth
It's
be
only
with
you
us.
and I.
Yes.
Standing.
Well, I close this meeting at 8 PM, and the next meeting will be on Thursday, the 15th of June.